This is my favorite time of the fantasy football offseason. It's not too soon to start talking about fantasy football. It's definitely too soon to project who's going to win starting jobs and starting backfields. But it's just the perfect time now to go ahead and see who are we going to be able to get as a value this year in fantasy, so we know that we're getting the best players on our fantasy football teams. Last year, in terms of my sleepers and players we weren't drafting soon enough on this channel, we talked a lot about Chuba Hubbard and Terry McLaurin, and both of those panned out. So now in this video, in 2025, I have 3 players that we are not drafting soon enough in fantasy football. And again, yeah, it might be a little too early to judge their ADP, but we're going to go ahead and evaluate who we need to make sure we have on our fantasy football teams in 2025. So let's roll that intro. The first player on this list, we have coming in at wide receiver 22 on Underdog currently. That's DJ Moore of the Chicago Bears. And while that might sound in your heads like, yeah, he's about top 20 receivers, probably the 20th best receiver, 22 is a little much, and I feel like that's a discount. He's going after guys like Ted McMillan and Xavier Worthy on Underdog. So we're talking about second best wide receiver in Kansas City and rookie wide receiver playing for the Carolina Panthers are going ahead of DJ Moore, number 1 option in Chicago, their best playmaker on the team by far. And you're going to be able to get him after that? That feels like a discount to me. Last year, this was a team that threw the ball a lot. Yeah, that could change going into 2025. But we know that in terms of Caleb Williams, he's not going to be a limited passer in the NFL. He's going to be able to throw the ball 500 times if asked to. And I don't see why they would take 200 passing attempts or 180 passing attempts away from him after his rookie season. And we've also seen, let's not forget, in recent history, DJ Moore has had high-end wide receiver 1 seasons without a high-end QB1. When we're drafting receivers, and this is no disrespect to any of them, we like to draft those guys that are in the explosive offenses. We see a Jamar Chase, and we know the Bengals are going to throw the ball, and we're all in on that. And sometimes we see wide receivers, and they're kind of a little turned away because we don't view the quarterback as high-end QB play capable. And because of that, we start to view guys like DJ Moore a little less than what they are, when really DJ Moore has top 15 potential. And I get not wanting to put your chips in the Caleb Williams basket after last year. He made a lot of mistakes in terms of holding on to the ball too long. It wasn't always just interceptions. Gave him a lot of opportunities to make plays in 2024. And I believe they're going to do the same thing again in 2025. He's going to have opportunities. And if this team could be slightly better than what they were a year ago, I know I use that argument a lot. Here, we're just projecting. I see that wide receiver 22 for DJ Moore. It's really like we're drafting him at his floor versus where we draft other guys at their ceilings. We also need to remember, after DJ Moore's rookie season, he's still looking for even competent quarterback play, just like Terry McLaurin was a season ago. Now, granted, Terry McLaurin didn't have the back end of Cam Newton in his first year, but regardless, it's his rookie season. That's really not going to help him much in his career. If Caleb Williams can not hold on to the ball as much as he did in 2024, could potentially be even more passing volume for DJ Moore. And it's not that I think anything less of Rome Odunze. I think Rome Odunze is a great fantasy player also this year for the same reasons. But DJ Moore is still the alpha wide receiver in this room, and he's probably going to end up with the most targets if they both, Rome Odunze and DJ Moore, play the same amount of games. Now let's move on to my next player that we need to make sure we have on our fantasy teams this year, because the price you could get him at right now is too good to pass up. And that's Zay Flowers, who's the wide receiver 30 right now on Underdog. So, just so I have this clear, we have Zay Flowers finished as wide receiver 31 in PPR's rookie season. Finished as wide receiver 25 last season. They add DeAndre Hopkins, who's probably not going to play that many snaps, that many downs, have that many opportunities to take away from him. And we're going to draft him and rank him at wide receiver 30. In an offense that scores a lot of touchdowns, The math is just not mathing up here. And no disrespect, but guys like DK Metcalf and George Pickens are going ahead of Zay Flowers, and whether it's opportunities or not being the best wide receiver or best pass catcher on their team or not being in the right offense, Zay Flowers is going to outproduce both of those guys and probably a lot of these guys near him in ADP. Again, in a Ravens offense that does score a lot of touchdowns, albeit a lot are rushing touchdowns, there are still plenty of passing touchdowns to be had in this system. And a guy that's had 4 touchdowns in one year and 5 in another, it feels like that touchdown surge is upon us. We were making this argument for the longest time a year ago about Garrett Wilson and how he was going to have to increase that touchdown number, and he did. And it doesn't have to be double-digit touchdowns, but if we're looking at 7 touchdowns for Zay Flowers, that's a really good season for where you drafted him at. If he's going to play every game and he scores 7 touchdowns or almost every game, that's a really good draft pick. Last year, this Ravens offense was 2nd in passing touchdowns and 7th in passing yards. So even though they don't have a lot of passing attempts, the efficiency trumps the opportunities. Of course, you want a guy that could have 8 to 10 targets in a game or 8 catches in a game. But really, the only guys that are in that range are DK Metcalf and Courtland Sutton. And they're just not in the offenses that this player is in particularly. And not to mention, DK Metcalf's playing with a brand new quarterback. There are so many different intangibles to this. They're adding new pass catchers to the Denver Broncos. They're adding new players. Like, we don't know what the target share for Courtland Sutton in 2025 is going to look like. Of course, he's going to have a lot of targets and have the most, but we don't know how many exactly. Where it's safe to say, as Zay Flowers is going to be the top pass catcher, it's going to be interesting to see who is next in line, whether it's Rashad Bateman or Mark Andrews has another really good season, or Isaiah Likely finally kicks in the door and is the starting tight end. We just know Zay has to be at the top, and we know Zay is at the top in an offense that is going to score touchdowns. The last player we need to make sure that we're drafting on our fantasy football teams this year, definitely a dart throw, but that's Jaden Blue of the Dallas Cowboys, and he's coming in at RB45. Jaden Blue is worth the low risk that he comes with because this Cowboys backfield is very confusing. Side note before we start talking about who's actually in the Cowboys running back room, this is a team that loves their guys. They love drafting them. They love developing their running backs. Whether we go back over the last decade or so, whether it's Joseph Randle, whether it's Deuce Vaughn, who's still there now, whether it's Rico Dowdle, DeMarco Murray is another one. The list goes on and on. These are guys that they just rather give the ball to than the veterans. So now in this room, they have 2 veterans that they have no ties to because they didn't draft them. Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. Miles Sanders reportedly, some people say may be the starter. Some people have reported that he may be cut. I don't know if I want to draft Miles Sanders, to be honest, if I hear one thing and I hear the total opposite at the same time. Doesn't sound good. Now let's take a look at Javonte Williams, the other veteran running back. Javonte Williams is hoping that this season could be a productive season so that he can have somewhere to go after this 2025 season. In his last 2 seasons with the Denver Broncos, yes, he came back from injuries 2 years ago, I understand, but last year and 2 years ago, he had the 7th and the 2nd best offensive line in the NFL, according to PFF. And in either of those seasons, he did not rush for any better than 3.7 yards per carry, which is merely average or below average in the NFL. Amongst running backs with at least 110 carries this season, 3.7 yards per carry is the 3rd fewest. So talk about efficiency, he does not have it. That leads us with Deuce Vaughn, a guy that can't take a lot of volume, but is very shifty, very explosive, one of their guys. So he's probably going to stick around somehow, some way, even though Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams probably deserve it more. And then we have Jaden Blue, who feels a lot like Rico Dowdle a season ago. A sleeper running back everybody was calling for. I was a little hesitant myself about it. If you waited and you stuck it out the entire year, it ended up being worth it. But you did have to sit on that dead asset for a while for him to get that starting job. And I think 2025 is going to be very similar to that. I think the first 5-6 games, they're going to roll them all out. They're going to roll out Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. They're going to sprinkle in Deuce Vaughn. Jaden Blue might even get some looks. And then whoever gets hot is probably just going to run away with the job. And I feel like Jaden Blue, because he is a little more versatile and useful than Deuce Vaughn, will have more opportunity. And that's how he's going to get his chance to run away with it. And those are the 3 players we're not drafting soon enough in 2025. Whether it's you want to say you need to go get them around early or just make sure you have them on your roster, you can get them all throughout the draft. You don't need the 101 first overall pick to get these guys. So make sure that you can at least grab one of them because they all have great potential. Running backs are always tough to come by at the end of the season, and I feel like Jaden Blue can mature into that asset for you down the road. And DJ Moore and Zay Flowers could just be guys that teeter or flirt with wide receiver 1 performances, but finish as wide receiver 2s. And I'm not going to say that's where they're drafted ADP-wise, but if they did that, you would say you got a bargain for what you drafted. If you like fantasy football content and you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. What are you doing, knucklehead? Nah, I'm sorry, that was rude. But I'm just on my grind. I'm making videos left and right. I'm making content. I'm trying to be with it this year. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to make Outlier double in subscribers, trying to double in size. So I need double the amount of people to like this video. I need double the amount of people to subscribe. And until next time, my name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy, and I will see you in the next video.